You think you know what rock bottom feels like after betrayal. The sleepless nights, the constant replaying of moments in your head, the hollow ache where trust used to be. I thought I'd hit mine when I found out my partner was cheating. The world went gray. Everything felt broken. I was just trying to survive each day, picking up the pieces, wondering how I missed the signs. Anger, sadness, disbelief. I cycled through it all. My partner became someone I didn't recognize, a stranger, living a double life right beside me. I was lost, convinced I knew the whole painful truth. Boy, was I wrong. Because then they reached out. The affair partner. A message popped up on my phone from a name I'd only seen in damning texts and hidden photos. My heart stopped. Why would they contact me? Was it gloating? More lies. My hands were shaking just opening it, bracing for another wave of pain. This person, who I'd painted as the villain in my shattered story, was suddenly stepping out of the shadows and into my DMS. It felt surreal, terrifying. What could they possibly have to say to the person whose life they helped blow apart? The message started simply, almost awkwardly. Not aggressive, not cruel, apologetic even. But it wasn't the apology that froze the blood in my veins, it was what came next. They claimed they had information, something big, something my partner had hidden even from them. They said they only found out recently and it changed everything for them too. They said I deserved to know the real story, the real why. My mind raced. What could be worse than the affair itself? What secret could possibly alter this nightmare landscape I was trapped in? I stared at those words on the screen, the ground, shifting beneath me all over again. The person I thought was the enemy was handing me a key, but to what? What they revealed next didn't just shatter my reality, it completely rewrote the story I thought I knew. Nothing prepared me for this. Why this works. Powerful hook, starts with relatable emotional devastation, rock bottom, hollow, ache sets the stage, clearly establishes the initial betrayal discovery and the narrator's fragile state, introduces the twist, highlights the unexpected contact from the affair. Partner AP in the narrator's shock, fear. Builds suspense, focuses on the mystery of the message and the big information, not explicit details of the affair itself. Human-centric uses visceral reactions, hands shaking, heart stopped, blood froze, relatable confusion, and focuses on emotional impact. Natural tone, uses conversational language. Boy, was I wrong. My mind raced. What could be worse? Keywords naturally incorporates partner, affair partner, betrayal, hidden, secret, revealed. Changed everything. Real story. Cliffhanger, ends on the brink of the revelation. What they revealed next, nothing prepared me for this. Compelling viewers to watch part 2. Policy safe. Focuses on the emotional journey and the mystery of the revelation, avoiding explicit details of the affair, revenge tactics, or harmful language. The AP's contact is framed as informational, not harassing. My finger hovered over the screen, frozen. Chloe, that was her name, wasn't just messaging me. She was offering a lifeline to a truth I hadn't even known was buried. My partner, Mark, the man I shared a home and 5 years with, what else could he possibly be hiding? The affair felt like the ultimate betrayal, the deepest cut. But Chloe's words hinted at something darker, something layered beneath the infidelity. My stomach dropped. Was that why he strayed? Or was this something else entirely? I forced myself to read her message again. She sounded scared, genuinely rattled. Not like the confident woman I'd imagined tearing my life apart. She talked about things not adding up. About Mark acting weirdly secretive even with her lately. She mentioned money moving strangely, vague explanations about sudden business trips that never made sense. Things she'd brushed off at first, caught up in the excitement of the affair, but that started gnawing at her after the initial high faded. She said finding out whatever this was, whatever Mark was truly involved in, made her realize the affair wasn't just a mistake. It felt like a symptom of something much bigger, something rotten at the core. She claimed she ended things immediately after her own discovery and felt sick knowing I was still in the dark. It was surreal. Here was the woman I blamed for destroying my relationship, now telling me she felt deceived too, that Mark had played us both. My head spun. The anger I felt towards her was suddenly tangled up with this terrifying new confusion. Could I even believe her? Was this just more manipulation, a twisted way to hurt Mark back, or was she genuinely trying to warn me? The trust was obliterated, completely shattered. Trusting Mark was impossible now, but trusting Chloe, the woman who slept with my partner, that felt like insanity yet. The little details she mentioned. The unexplained cash withdrawals Mark always brushed off as investments. The sudden, late-night work emergencies on weekends. His phone constantly face down, the password changed recently. Things I'd noticed, anxieties I'd buried, telling myself I was being paranoid, hearing them echoed by her, the affair partner. It sent chills down my spine. It gave her words a terrifying credibility. What secret was big enough to scare her off? What was Mark tangled up in that could make an affair seem like the lesser evil? My heart hammered against my ribs. She ended her message with a question that echoed my own dread. Do you want to see what I found? The proof. I stared at those words completely paralyzed. Saying yes felt like stepping off a cliff. Saying no felt like choosing willful blindness. The ground wasn't just shifting anymore. It felt like it was cracking wide open beneath me. The silence in the room was deafening, thick with the weight of Chloe's question. Do you want to see what I found? The proof? My phone felt like a live wire in my trembling hand. Every instinct screamed no. Talking to her felt like betraying myself all over again. How could I trust the woman who actively participated in destroying my life? This could easily be another layer of Mark's manipulation, or hers a cruel game designed to twist the knife deeper. The thought made me physically nauseous, but the alternative, ignoring it, pretending I hadn't seen her message, that felt like walking blindfolded off a cliff. Her words echoed something rotten at the core, symptom of something much bigger. It forced me to look back, really look, at the cracks I'd desperately papered over. The arguments about money that always ended abruptly, Mark shutting down. The new, expensive watch he claimed was a bonus from a project I knew was struggling. The sheer intensity of his secrecy lately, far beyond just hiding an affair. Paranoia had started creeping in even before Chloe's message. Tiny doubts I'd dismissed as the fallout of his infidelity. Now, they roared back, amplified. Was the affair just noise, a distraction from something darker? My finger hovered over the reply box. The anger towards Chloe warred violently with a terrifying, morbid curiosity. What proof could she possibly have that scared her off? What secret was big enough to make her feel like a victim too? The dynamic was insane. We weren't allies. We were collateral damage orbiting the same destructive force, Mark. Yet here she was, reaching out, offering a glimpse into a hidden world he'd built. Did she feel guilty? Was this her attempt at penance? Or was she just scared and needed someone else to understand the monster she'd helped unmask? The confusion was paralyzing. Taking a shaky breath, I forced myself to type, not a yes to seeing the proof. Not yet, just 2 words. Like what? The typing bubbles appeared immediately, then vanished, appeared again. My heart hammered against my ribs. The weight was agonizing. Finally, her response flashed up, not a file, but a name. Silver Oak Holdings, followed by look it up, public records, then look at Mark's consulting invoices, Silver Oak Holdings. It meant nothing to me, absolutely nothing, but the dread solidified into a cold, hard lump in my chest. Consulting invoices. Mark handled all that, said it was complicated, boring financial stuff. My access to our shared accounts had mysteriously become read-only months ago, a change he blamed on security upgrades. I'd been too preoccupied with the dying embers of our relationship to fight it. Now, that felt like another deliberate war. I opened my laptop, hands still unsteady. Typing Silver Oak Holdings felt like stepping into forbidden territory. The search results loaded. It wasn't a big company, obscure, registered, offshore. My blood ran cold. Why would Mark be invoicing a tiny offshore entity? For what? Where was that money really going? Chloe's warning about money moving strangely slammed back into focus. This wasn't just about a broken heart anymore. This felt like the first thread pulled on a tapestry hiding a much larger, uglier picture. The affair suddenly seemed like the tip of a terrifying iceberg. What else had Mark built his double life on? And how deep did the deception truly go? I stared at the screen, the unfamiliar company name glaring back, a silent accusation. The proof wasn't in a file Chloe sent. It was waiting, buried in our own financial history, and I had no idea what I was about to dig up. The name Silver Oak Holdings stared back from my laptop screen, cold and impersonal, offshore, obscure, the kind of shell company you read about in financial crime articles. My hands felt icy as I navigated to our online banking portal, the one Mark had restricted me to view only months ago, claiming it was safer. Safer for who, exactly? Scrolling through months of transactions felt like walking through a minefield blindfolded. My eyes scanned, desperate and terrified. Groceries, utilities, the mortgage. Then, there it was. Like a jagged shard of glass, in a smooth surface. Consultancy fee. Silver Oak Holdings, $15,000. My breath hitched. $15,000. Mark never mentioned a client paying that much. A month later, another one. Consultancy fee. Silver Oak Holdings, $12,500. Then another, and another, stretching back nearly a year. Tens of thousands of dollars, siphoned into an account I couldn't access, under the guise of work he'd vaguely described as niche financial consulting. But where was this money now? Our joint savings hadn't ballooned. Our lifestyle hadn't changed. My pulse hammered in my ears. This wasn't just about the affair anymore. This was a systematic deception, a hidden financial life running parallel to the emotional betrayal. Chloe's terrified words echoed. Something rotten at the core. Was Mark in debt, gambling, involved in something illegal? The possibilities were dark, dizzying. Suddenly a memory clicked, sharp and painful. Last summer, Mark had insisted we needed a separate, high-yield savings account only in his name for his business liquidity. He'd promised it was temporary, just easier for invoicing. I'd been distracted, trusting, stupid. I'd signed the papers without really looking. My stomach churned. Was that where the Silver Oak money went? Was that account even real? Fueled by a desperate, sickening dread, I grabbed my phone. Not to message Chloe back. Not yet. I called the bank. My voice shook as I pretended to be Mark, rattling off his security details I still remembered, my heart threatening to burst through my chest. It felt wrong, terrifying, but the need to know outweighed everything. After an agonizing hold, the automated system finally connected me to the account balance for that secret savings account. The number that the robotic voice recited made my blood freeze solid. It wasn't tens of thousands. It was hundreds of thousands. Over $350,000. Money I never knew existed. Money our household bills and mortgage payments had helped facilitate, while he paid himself from this phantom company. The room tilted. This wasn't just hidden income, this was a fortune. Where did it come from? Silver Oak was a shell. What was he really doing? Was the affair just a symptom of a man living an entirely fabricated life? The betrayal deepened into something monstrous, unimaginable. This wasn't a broken heart. This felt like standing on the edge of a bottomless pit of lies, just as the magnitude of the number was sinking in, paralyzing me. I heard it, the distinct crunch of gravel under tires in our driveway. Headlights swept across the living room window. Mark was home. Early. Panic, pure and electric, shot through me. The laptop was open, bank statements glaring on the screen. My phone call, logged to the bank. Exposed. The evidence of my digging was everywhere. I hadn't hidden a thing. I was frozen, staring at the door, the secret account balance echoing in my mind, the headlights pinning me in place like a terrified animal. He couldn't find me like this. Not now, not knowing what I knew. The click of the car door shutting. Outside was the loudest sound I'd ever heard. Time stopped. What would he do when he walked in and saw the truth laid bare on my face and on the screen? The deception was about to collide with discovery, and I was utterly, terrifyingly unprepared for what came next. The crunch of gravel under Mark's tires sounded like bones breaking. Headlights sliced through the curtains, trapping me in their glare. My heart wasn't just pounding, it was trying to escape my chest. The laptop screen screamed evidence. Bank statements, the obscene balance of that hidden account, the damning Silver Oak Holdings transfers. My phone call logged to the bank felt like a blinking neon sign over my head. I was cornered, bathed in the cold blue light of betrayal. I scrambled, slamming the laptop shut just as the front door rattled open. The sound was terrifyingly normal. Keys jingled. Mark's familiar footsteps echoed in the hall, heavier than usual. Every nerve was screaming, hide it, act normal. But how could I? The secret felt like a physical weight, crushing the air from my lungs. The deception wasn't just his anymore. I was drowning in it too. Hey, you're home early? My voice came out thin, strained, echoing weirdly in the sudden silence as he appeared in the doorway. He looked, off, pale, sweaty, his eyes darting around the room before landing on me, then flicking nervously to the closed laptop on the coffee table. He didn't smile, didn't ask about my day. His usual easy charm was replaced by a brittle tension. Yeah, our meeting got cancelled, he mumbled, not meeting my eyes. He dropped his briefcase with a thud, the sound making me jump. He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture I knew meant he was stressed, lying, or both. What are you doing? He nodded towards the laptop, his voice too casual, laced with an undercurrent of suspicion. Double quotes, just, browsing. I lied, the words ash in my mouth. The air crackled with unspoken accusations. He knew he had to know I knew, or was he just paranoid, guilty about the affair, oblivious to the financial earthquake I'd just uncovered? The hidden financial life felt like a monster pulsating between us before I could even attempt another weak deflection. Before Mark could press further, a sharp, insistent knock shattered the fragile standoff. Bang, bang, bang. It wasn't a soft tap of a neighbor. It was urgent, demanding. Mark froze, his head snapping towards the front door, his face drained of what little color it had left, genuine panic flashing in his eyes. Don't answer that, he hissed, low and sharp, taking a step towards me, then stopping. Torn. The knocking came again. Louder. Bang, bang, bang. Ignoring him, driven by a sudden reckless impulse, I moved. I needed air, an escape from his suffocating presence and the weight of his secrets. I yanked the door open. Standing on the porch, bathed in the harsh yellow porch light, was Chloe. Her face was tear-streaked, her eyes wide with fear and something else. Desperation. She looked nothing like the confident other woman I'd imagined. She looked wrecked. Her gaze flew past me, locking onto Mark standing frozen behind me in the hall. Her voice, trembling but clear-cut through the thick silence. Mark, what did you do? They know. They're coming. Mark's reaction was instantaneous, visceral. He didn't look angry, he looked terrified. Pure, unadulterated terror. He stumbled back a step, his hand flying to his mouth. Chloe, what the hell are you doing here? He choked out, his voice cracking. His eyes darted wildly between her terrified face and mine, filled with dawning horror. This wasn't about the affair. This was something else entirely. Something far worse. Chloe's words hung in the air. They know. They're coming. Who? What had Mark really been doing with all that money? The secret account. Silver Oak Holdings. It wasn't just hidden income. It felt like a conspiracy. And now, standing on my doorstep, shaking and terrified, was the affair partner, seemingly tangled in the same dangerous web, delivering a warning that turned Mark's financial betrayal into something that felt terrifyingly, perilously criminal. The ground didn't just crack open. It felt like the whole world was about to implode. The words "they're coming" hung in the air like poison gas. Mark looked like he might actually be sick, his face gray, his eyes wide with pure animal fear. Chloe stood trembling on the porch, her earlier message about the proof feeling like a lifetime ago. This wasn't financial weirdness anymore. This felt like the edge of an abyss. Before any of us could move, before Mark could try to slam the door or spin another lie, the night exploded. Flashing red and blue lights painted the walls of our hallway, strobing through the open door. Sirens whooped once, sharp and final, then cut off. Heavy footsteps pounded up the driveway. Uniformed officers and men in plain clothes swarmed the porch, their faces grim, focused. "Mark Thompson," one of the plainclothes officers asked, his voice flat, official. He barely glanced at Chloe or me. His eyes were locked on Mark. Mark didn't answer. He just sagged against the hallway wall, the fight draining out of him, replaced by a terrifying resignation. The deception was over. The hidden life was exposed. "Mark Thompson," the officer repeated, stepping inside, holding up a badge. "You're under arrest. You have the right to remain silent." The familiar words washed over me, surreal and chilling. The charges he listed next turned my blood to ice. Fraud, embezzlement, conspiracy. Silver Oak Holdings wasn't just a shell company. It was the front for a massive scheme Mark had orchestrated at his actual job, funneling hundreds of thousands, maybe millions, into that secret account. The consulting fees were stolen funds, the affair, the secrecy, the sudden wealth. It was all part of this monstrous betrayal. As they handcuffed Mark, reading him his rights, his eyes finally met mine. Not with love, not even with regret for the affair, just a hollow, shattered look. The man I thought I knew was gone, replaced by a stranger capable of unimaginable deceit. The hidden truth wasn't just painful, it was criminal. The officers led him out, past Chloe, who shrunk back against the doorframe, and past me, standing frozen in the epicenter of my imploded life. The flashing lights illuminated the tears silently streaming down my face. It was over. The main lie, the biggest deception, was laid bare. Justice, it seemed, was coming for Mark. But then, as the commotion moved outside, as the police cars eyed in the driveway, Chloe slowly turned to me. The raw fear was still there, but beneath it, something else flickered. Shame, guilt. She took a hesitant step closer, her voice barely a whisper, meant only for me over the distant murmur of police radios. "I'm so sorry," she breathed, her eyes searching mine, filled with a desperate sincerity. "For everything, but you need to know, it wasn't just him. He wasn't the mastermind." She swallowed hard, glancing nervously towards the officers outside. "He was working for someone. Someone much bigger, much scarier." Her voice dropped even lower, trembling. They think I was part of it too. That's why I panicked. That's why I came. I needed you to see, before they painted me as the villain. Mark was my handler, but the plan, the money, it came from above him." She took another shaky breath, her confession hanging between us like a guillotine blade. The affair, it wasn't real. Not for me, it was cover. A way for them to keep tabs on him, to make sure he didn't run or talk. She looked at me, utterly exposed. I was just another pawn. And now, now we're both caught in the fallout. She flinched as an officer called her name sharply from the porch. "Chloe Reynolds, we need to speak with you now." The command was clear. Chloe gave me one last terrified look, a silent plea for understanding, mercy, before turning and walking slowly towards the waiting officers, leaving me alone in the shattered wreckage of my home. The betrayal was deeper and darker than I ever imagined. Mark was arrested, the money scheme exposed, but Chloe's final, whispered twist revealed a hidden layer of manipulation and danger I hadn't even begun to comprehend. The mastermind was still out there. And Chloe, the affair partner turned terrified informant, might be just as trapped as I was. The nightmare wasn't ending, it was just changing shape. The silence after the sirens faded was the loudest, most terrifying sound of all. The days and weeks that followed were a blur of police interviews, lawyer meetings, and the hollow ache of picking up the pieces. Mark pleaded guilty to fraud and embezzlement relatively quickly. The mountain of evidence, the Silver Oak transfers, the secret account, the trail leading back to his company was undeniable. He got significant prison time. The main source of the betrayal, the hidden truth of his criminal life, was finally laid bare, and justice, at least the legal kind, was served. Chloe cooperated fully with the investigation. Her story checked out. Texts, coded messages, even payments traced back to a shadowy figure higher up the chain. Evidence showed she had been pressured into the affair as part of the scheme, a way for the real mastermind to control Mark's testified against him and the unnamed higher-up who was now also under investigation. She got a reduced sentence for her cooperation, acknowledging her part, however coerced. The revelation that the affair was part of the deception, not just a personal betrayal, added a chilling layer, but also explained her terrified warning. We weren't friends, but the raw hatred I felt softened into a complex pity. We were both casualties of Mark's greed and someone else's manipulation. Financially, it was a mess. Lawyers' restitution, untangling the stolen money, it took months. But finally, the day came when I walked out of the bank after closing the last account. Tied to Mark in that poisoned secret fund, the sun felt strangely warm on my face. I wasn't rich, but I was free. Free of his lies, free of the constant dread, free of the hidden financial life that had nearly swallowed me whole. The biggest change wasn't external, though. It was inside. Therapy helped. Leaning on real friends helped more. I learned the betrayal wasn't about my worth. It was about Mark's profound brokenness and the terrible choices he made. Letting go of the anger, the constant why, was like shedding a heavy, suffocating coat. The truth, however brutal, truly did set me free. It allowed me to start cleaning the wound instead of just bleeding out. So, where am I now? Healing still, some days are harder than others, but I wake up knowing exactly who I am, what I have, and what I deserve. Peace isn't a constant state, but it visits more often now. The nightmare was over. And from the ashes of that deception, I found a strength I never knew I had. The journey through the lies was hell, but reaching the other side, knowing I faced the hidden truth and survived, that's a kind of victory no one can ever take away. I'm building a life now based on reality, on trust I choose to give carefully, and on the quiet, powerful knowledge that I am so much stronger than the secrets that tried to break me.